Lewis was spicy on the radio messages this past weekend, exchanging back and forth with his engineer, Ricardo Adami, if I'm not mistaken. Adami, the 7-time champ. He was letting him hear it. There was at one point saying, have a tea break while you're at it, while they were trying to swap places with him and Charles. Lewis wanting to go ahead to go fight Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes. It was a really frustrating experience, is what Lewis said post-race. Man, there were some other comments here too. It just didn't really work out. Later in the race, Ferrari swapped the drivers back. Leclerc would go charge after the Williams, and with a notice that, hey, Carlos Sainz is this much time behind. I think it was like 1.7 seconds. Lewis Hamilton responding with, do you want me to let him by too? Post-race, he chalked it up as a lack of immediacy in the moment at times, high-octane competition, indecision from the engineers, and not getting enough feedback, enough information very quickly. But overall, from a performance perspective, the Ferrari team, they took a step back this week. They finished 7th and 8th, which is not necessarily where you want to be if you're Ferrari, almost a minute behind Oscar Piastri, all the way in first place. I don't blame him for being frustrated. I understand that his expectations walking in were that they were going to be competing for podiums. They were going to be competing for the top step. And while Lewis Hamilton does have a win this year in the Chinese sprint, this is a man who is used to winning. This is a man who is used to fighting for those podiums. This is a guy who is used to fighting for championship, caliber, performances for accolades, excuse me. So overall, yes, though, this is very much so an adjustment year. I said it last week on the podcast. I said it last week in a video. We talked about it a lot over the last few weeks. The frustration seems to be boiling over. I think if you're Ferrari, Fred Vasseur talking about how we, talked to Lewis, kind of patted him on the shoulder and told him to relax, like you kind of do if you're Lewis Hamilton. At the end of the day, it's competition, but understanding where this car is week in, week out, you can't necessarily, with how it's performing so far, barring some more major upgrades that are going to completely change the game, and maybe they find like half a second of pace, which would be unheard of mid-season. I think that the temperament of expectations, just take everything in, learn everything you possibly can if you're Lewis Hamilton. That way next year when you're walking into 2026, the regulations change. You understand this procedure. You understand how it works. You understand how to communicate with your race engineer. You understand what they're expecting, what you're expecting. Things are meshing well. But right now they're here. When in a year's time, they're going to be like right here. Okay, just a little bit of patience. We all want to see Lewis Hamilton fighting for wins. We all want to see a 7-time world champion remaining in the mix. Right now, it's been very frustrating. And I understand. At the end of the day, everybody wants to win. And a guy who's won a lot in his career, has the record for the most wins in Formula One's history. This guy's used to winning. This guy's used to, driving at a championship caliber level, to having those opportunities to do so. I understand. It's got to be 100% frustrating.